Appreciate that. But yeah, you guys need to study really, really hard for these next 6 weeks. Go in, okay? Put in some extra hours. Either you going to sleep late or you waking up early. Yes, you will be losing some sleep. I'm sorry, but that's just, the sacrifice we make to accomplish our goals in such a short period of time. I've been chilling for probably about almost 2 years. I've just been chilling. So, I can attest that 6 weeks going hard, doing nothing but studying every single day. If you can put in as many hours as you can, I would say like 8 hours, 8 hours at work, 8 hours studying. If you can do that for 6 weeks, you're definitely going to get, what I'm saying, your goals knocked out in a short period of time. So yeah, let's get into it. Let me put this over here. Now, yesterday we talked about, let's go into our sections. Let's go into our week 1, computer networking. All right, so our reference here. Yesterday, we talked about IP services. So we have our switch and we have our router that works together to allow us to do whatever service we want to do on the internet, such as mask our IP address, such as access a website, and just other things we can do, just getting an IP address and just making sure that, what we set to accomplish, which is sending our message to our destination, actually get accomplished. And like I said, all these things happen in like a millisecond, right? So this is literally, we're slowing down that second and we're breaking down each part of this second, because me sending you a message right now, you got it, right? Instantly. So between me sending that message and you getting that message, all of what we have talked about so far happens, which is a lot. So we're, coming to an end as far as security, right? So we already know what a network is, right? We already know what components make a network. We know when we connect to a network, the first line of contact, which is layer 2 technology. We know once layer 2 technology, is finished doing what it needs to do, it goes to the next stage, which is layer 3 technology. Okay, that's routers. And layer 2 and layer 3 are going to work together to make sure that we accomplish our goals that we set forth to use the internet. Now, we're done with that. Now, all we need to do is make sure that we know how to secure ourselves. We're always looking at this from an engineer perspective. So when we talk about security, we want to make sure that we can secure our network and secure our users from anybody out on the internet trying to be malicious, right? Because network A may be good right here, but network C, they may be a full hacker. So the minute I want to send something across their network, they may be watching, or they may connect to my network and say, hey, I see the packets that you're sending. Let me intercept them and figure out what data you're sending so I can, whatever their mission is, right? We kind of talked a little bit about yesterday about protecting, being on VPN, so you can protect your card number when you're putting that in, and just protect your data when you're surfing the internet. So this is what we're kind of going to go into as far as on the basic level. So let's actually go into, actually, I have it up here. Basics of security. Where's my pen? Okay, here we go. Basics of security, day 5. So the basics include threats. Well, before we even go in, do anybody have any questions about yesterday, what we talked about, before we go in deep here? Because I don't want to go too quick for you guys. No? Okay, cool. So basics of security. So the basics include threats, vulnerabilities, exploits, and mitigation techniques, okay? Mitigation techniques is literally just trying to lessen the risk of something. So we have to come up with techniques to lessen our risk of being, of having, vulnerabilities and exploits and threats, right? We kind of know what these keywords are. A threat is, seen as some type of attack. Vulnerability is just, where's our weaknesses in our network. We'll have some weaknesses. And then exploits, someone trying to come in and exploit, what we have to exploit our vulnerabilities, you can say, to say, hey, this is what I see that, you're not really good at, you don't have really strength in, and I'm going to exploit that. I'm going to try to, get some type of gain from it. So we have these basics that we have to, ensure that our network does not basically, get hacked in any type of way. That's really all we're doing on a basic level. This is all part of the CCNA knowledge. So you have to know security, just being a network engineer, period. But if you want to go into like cybersecurity and down that realm, there are, it gets very deep. I don't know that deep. I just know how to make sure that I can block off ports and open up certain protocols to, keep people out. And then vice versa. I know how to activate certain protocols to try to get in. I haven't like went in to really try to hack someone's network. Like in previous classes, I did tell you guys that I was part of a penetration testing group. We're still working on that. So until I actually in it, then I can give you more experience from a cybersecurity perspective. However, we need a program to educate our users. So, we want to make sure that not only we know that we're safe, but the users know how to stay safe. So we'll give the users some type of user awareness. We'll probably give them some training to say, hey, make sure that you understand how to keep your password safe, or how to keep, when you're on VPN, or you're, on file sharing or something, proprietary to the company, you lock your computer before walking away. Just certain things, make sure you're not visiting certain websites when you are on VPN. And again, it's just certain things that we have to educate our users on, to say, hey, when you're on the network, make sure you do this. Don't click on certain emails. Don't send certain data through, whatever the case may be. Okay, so it's just training. We also have physical access control, and that's physical control, physical access to our equipment. So most of the time, what you'll see in data centers, or probably just in the office in the IT department, is a cabinet, or maybe a closet or a room where there's a, well, yeah, you could say a cabinet. It's probably enclosed, and it has a whole bunch of switches or routers all like lined up with each other, and is enclosed with some type of lock, whether it's a padded lock, a key, a number pad, whatever. We have some type of lock, because anyone can probably just come up here into this cabinet, open these doors, and just plug into one of these switches and routers and get busy. So we still have to protect ourselves from even our team, right? Or even just somebody just coming into the building, just thinking they can, plug into one of our devices. So we have to have this cabinet, and it's pretty clear. It's a clear door. And, we lock it. We lock our networking equipment. So you'll never really see a switch or a router just laying around. If that's so, it's probably for testing, because if it's really a part of the network, it'll be secured by a cabinet, by a glass, some type of cabinet, with a key, or some type of access that, we have, the security department have, not everyone have access to. And then another thing we want to educate is password alternatives. Like I said yesterday, you don't want to have your password like something like like I wouldn't say tech speaks 11 $, and then do that for every single, program or software that I have an account to. You kind of want to make it something different. Make sure that you have an uppercase, a lowercase, a number, say make it very unique, and don't use the same one over and over again, and then change them. Okay, let's say, okay, you've changed it so many times, you running out of, you can't really remember all these different passwords that you keep changing every 6 weeks. Now we have something called, with your bio authenticate. I forgot what the term is, but you use your biometrics to, go in, and we're used to that. We have Apple, well, at least the Apple people, we have our fingerprints, we have the face recognition to get in, and you can do that too on your, equipment. We have, biometric scans. You guys probably seen a lot in the movies, in order to access a door, access a certain room, put your fingerprint in. I mean, even I remember at my first call center job, I had to put my fingerprint in to get access to the door. So it's certain type of alternatives, instead of just, swiping my badge, or having a key or a keypad, putting the password, you can do biometrics. So there's so many different alternatives. Let me see. I think we have, you guys probably, maybe, multi-factor authentication. Yeah, we have that. Discord has that actually too. A lot of places are starting to do multi-factor authentications. When you think about blockchain as well, you have to not only put in your password, but you have to put in some type of code that you got sent to you via email or via text message or some other way, right? And that's multi-factor authentication. They're going to authenticate you multiple different ways because maybe someone do have your password, but do they have your phone? Maybe somebody do have your phone. Do they have your password or do they have your email? Again, there's so many different ways, but we want to educate ourselves so we can educate our users. Okay. Now, going more into security. Now we have layer 2 security. Okay. So with layer 2 security, we have there's a bunch of different security protocols, but these two are the main ones you're really going to see on layer 2, which is port security and ARP inspection. So port security sounds exactly what it is. We are securing the port. So like I said, we have our switch and let's say our switches, this is our switch. And our switch have, let's just say this is a port, that's a port, that's a port, that's a port, which really it'd just be like, 48 ports. It doesn't matter. This is just an example. So these are our ports. Now, we have connection. Let's say that, this is our computers. And these are our colleagues, we're working together. And then this colleague got fired. So this is open. Now, if we don't have any security on these ports, let's say that somebody just decides to come in to the job, let's just say there's no security at the job, it's just open. Somebody comes in and just decides to sit down and plug into the network with their computer, with their laptop. They're going to be able to do whatever they want. Now, if they're very technical, they can come in and see what I'm doing, you doing, and what she's doing, right? They're going to be all up in our business. Now hopefully they're not that technical, but we don't know. And to ensure that we are protected, we put port security on these switch ports. Again, it's layer 2 security. So layer 2 equals switch. So we're going to say switch. Anytime we talk about a port, it's a switch port. When we're protecting it, we're protecting our switch ports. I'm just saying that because you may hear switch port. It's the same thing as port security. Same thing as level 2 security. So the port, switch port, it's just saying that it's a port on a switch specifically because there's ports on routers, but router is not a layer 2 technology. So anyway, we have our switch, layer 2 security, we have our ports, and what we have to do is secure them. And there's multiple ways we can do that. And basically what we're doing is saying that, hey, your MAC address cannot enter our network. It can't go past layer 2 technology. We cannot let you, send this frame to our router. And that's all port security is. It's just MAC addressing. Because what is layer 2 technology all about? MAC address. How are we going to secure the port? By securing MAC address. So we'll probably put a command on this switch to say this MAC address is accepted, this MAC address is accepted, and this MAC address is accepted. But anything on this port, we don't have any MAC addresses. So anything that come from here, just block it. Even if it is somebody that we know, block it. Okay, that's basically what port security is. There's many different flavors of it because again, if you're going down the CCNA route, then you'll probably go into like port security with the commands like sticky, or it's just so many commands. I don't even want to go down the rabbit hole with you guys because then we'll get into some craziness. But on a general sense, just know that port security is what we're doing. We're securing the ports via MAC address. Okay, if your MAC address is not saying is what can allow to go through the port, which will probably say one MAC address can come through the port. So if someone else tried to come in, they'll be blocked. Or we'll say only this MAC address can come through the port. So regardless of if they take themselves off this switch and someone else plugs in that works at the job, they still won't be able to get on the on the network because we put some type of security. So that's again why it's like, oh, so you can't get on the internet, but everyone else around you can. You start doing troubleshooting, and then you'll probably end up to where maybe the port is closed, and you have to contact the security department and say, hey, can you open this port? even though we as regular network engineers know how to configure port security, turn it off, whoop, we still have to give that task to the security department, to the security network engineers, so they can do that specific task, even though we know how to do it. We just have to, ensure that, our tasks are being done by the right department, even though we wear multiple hats. Okay. And that's what I like about this. It's like, even though I know everything, I don't have to do everything, because, they want to separate the tasks to ensure that, that department do what it needs to do. So if anything falls back on security, it's that department. It's not, me as the voice engineer just doing stuff because I know it. So yeah. Now let's erase that, because that was port security. Hopefully you got that. And then we have, let me erase, come on. We have ARP inspection. So I don't think we really talked about ARP that much in the last couple of days, but if you're going through the CCNA path, then you know a little bit about ARP. ARP means Address Resolution Protocol. Okay, now it's layer 2 security, it's layer 2 technology. So what address you think we're talking about? We're talking about a MAC address, okay? So we know that switches only read MAC addresses. They only switch, they only forward, switch, whatever you want to say, Ethernet frames. Okay, that's only dealing with the MAC address. They don't care about any other address. So let's say that for the first time, and that's usually, this is what happens. Let's say, put the little computer here. For the first time, I want to send a message over here. The switch does not know my computer. So it's gonna, or the other computer. So when I send a message, it has to, look at the frame, look at the MAC address and say, okay, I know where this at. But it's my first time sending data. So the MAC is gonna say, the switch is gonna say, I don't really know this MAC. It's not in my database. So let me just broadcast to everyone on the network if they know, if this is their name, and their name is going to be a MAC address, right? Now, they're going to return also an IP address. So this is called ARP, ARP Address Resolution Protocol. Let me go right here. Let me go IP. So what the switch is going to do, the switch is going to send because my computer is building the frame. It builds my MAC, and then it puts the data packet, which is my IP, and then my data, right? We see the frame all the time. That's kind of the frame. MAC address, IP address, and data that it builds. And it sends to this switch. And then the switch says, I don't know who MAC address is. I know the source MAC because you just sent it to me. So I know that that's your MAC address. But who's this destination MAC? It's not in my table. So I have to do a broadcast and say, hey, does anybody know this MAC address, right? And it's going to send it via a broadcast IP address, right? It's just going to say, it's going to be something very general. Again, if you guys are in the CCNA, it's, this type of address, which is a broadcast address. 255.255.255. It's an octet, so it's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so something look like this: 255.255.255, right? That's just broadcast. That means that I'm sending it to every single device on the network. So what the devices are going to do is they're only going to respond if if the destination is their MAC address, which would be this one, right? So computer will respond to the switch and say, oh, that's my MAC address. Why do you want that? And then the switch is going to say, oh, I need to build a frame. So it's going to take this frame and say, oh, I know where to send, where you want to go. And it's going to send it to, the destination via MAC. And again, it's ARP inspection. I ain't gonna say inspection, it's ARP, Address Resolution Protocol. It's saying, hey, I have an IP, but since I don't read IPs, I need a MAC address. So who does this belong to? Can you tell me? Can someone tell me? And then whoever it is, MAC address it is going to send it to the switch and say, hey, this is me. What's going on? And the switch can now take this MAC address because it sent data to the MAC to say it was them. So now the switch has the intelligence to be like, okay, let me grab your MAC address from you, say that it's in this interface, this port, put this on the frame, and then send it out this location, send it out to you. Okay. Now the frame, now anytime I want to send data to this, it can do it without doing an ARP, without doing address resolution protocol. Okay, this address resolution protocol always happens when you first send data. Okay, I'm not going to go too deep in it because it's really for my CCNA folks. When we can actually see ARP, we could do a couple things with it. So if you are, going down that path, we can do a little studying together if you want to see ARP in real time. But we're talking about security. So now you know what ARP is for the ones not in the exam course. Now let's talk about inspection. Let's talk about how is it a security protocol. So you know how that works. So let's say someone is, wants to hack into our network, wants to do, malicious activity. What they can do is while the switch sends out this broadcast to say, hey, whose MAC address is that? Some hacker can come in and say, oh, well, let me change my MAC address to this. Let me change my IP to this. They're going to change their whole frame, right? They're going to change all this. And then they're going to send it to the switch and say, it's me, it's me, it's me. And then the switch, as intelligent as we want it to be, it's going to say, oh, well, okay, well, this is you. Well, let me build this frame up and send this data to you instead of sending it to where it belongs. So now, instead of me sending my information to who I wanted to, I'm now sending it directly to the hacker. So what we have to do is put in a ARP inspection type of security measure to where nobody can do that. No hacker can come in and change and say, get these broadcast messages and say, hey, can you, this is my MAC address, this is my IP, send me that data. We can prevent that measure by putting in some type of inspection type of protocol. And all that does is just ensures that, no one outside of that's connected to our network can come in and read these broadcast messages, right? Because the switch don't know. The switch is just sending it out to everyone who's connected. So what we have to do is add another layer of configuration to say, don't just send it to everybody now. Send it to everybody over here or everybody over here. We're going to specify where to send it because the switch, again, is very intelligent, but when it's just doing a broadcast, it's just going to be everybody. And how do we know that everybody's on our team? So we still have to protect ourselves, which, we have to protect these broadcast messages that the switch is going to do regardless. And they have to do it so they can build the frame. So we're going to, on layer 2, we're going to protect our ports and we're going to protect our broadcast messages. This is what these two are. Okay. All right. Let's go on to layer 3 security. Now, layer 3 is all about IP addressing and routing. Okay, so let's start with DHCP. So we talked about DHCP, and that's how we can allocate IP addresses to our users. Instead of one person just dedicating an IP address and a DNS settings and and default gateway, all that good stuff to each person in the company, each computer in the company, we have a technology, a server that just serves IP addresses as people come on and, come on. Hold on, let me see. I think we have a question. Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. 12:30. If you have any questions, we can, repeat anything. But DHCP, like we said, it automates us to be able to send IP addresses to everyone instead of manually. Now, we can do that, but again, there's always something to where someone is going to try to exploit that. They're going to take that and say, well, since you're handing out IP addresses, let me get one and start doing whatever I want. So we have a technology called DHCP snooping. Okay, so basically it sounds exactly what it is. There's someone snooping on our DHCP server so they can grab IP addresses and connect to our network like they're one of us. So we have something to where we say no. And some type of protocol, all of these are just like really commands we put on these network devices, a couple lines of commands. So DHCP snooping will activate that. So let's say our DHCP server, this is our DHCP server. Okay, we'll say that, let's see, DHCP server, and then we have our router. That's kind of how that's connected. And then that's connected to our switch. And then this is connected to our users. That's usually how DHCP is set up, right? our users, connect to the network, and then, these two talk together to talk to the DHCP server to give us our IP addresses. Now, what we're going to do is on our router, we're going to put a type of, you can say, a DHCP snoop to say only get data from this DHCP server. Anybody else is wrong unless we specify that this is the new place that you only get DHCP from. So anything else, because someone else will probably come in and say that, oh, I'm a DHCP server. Here's some IP addresses, or somebody may come in and say, well, shoot, I see you handing out IP addresses, let me get one. So it's multiple different ways they can take, IP addresses from our network, whether they set up to be a DHCP server or they just want to be a regular user. They can come in either way. And again, just depending on how technical they are. So we have to put in this snoop command. So that says, hey, only the router needs to send messages from this specific DHCP server. Nobody else. So if you come in and let's say this DHCP server go down, you come in and you spin up another one and okay. And it's like, why no one's getting my DHC? Why is no one's working? Why nobody getting IP addresses, or what's going on? Why you can't access the internet? Oh, because we said that only the old server can have access. And now since we spun up a new server, we need to take this access down and put a new one up. Okay, so that's could be another reason why, users can't access the internet or such. So that's why we have to understand security to know like, oh, ports are being blocked, or, some type of security is blocking us from doing what we need to do as just regular network engineers. So DHCP snooping on DHCP request, trying to access our network that way. And this is a basic level. This is basic security. So, if you don't have this on your network, then it's kind of like you're definitely not playing with the big boys, because this is just basic. It's probably already be configured when you hop on to someone's network. The most time you'll probably have to configure it is if it's like a new company, or if they're changing their process over, if they're doing some type of merger and acquisition. I've been a part of a couple mergers and acquisitions. So a lot of times you have to just like build up new things. Yes, you want to merge them together because, that company bought out the other company. But sometimes, with the users, they're so used to having a certain way, you have to just plug and play. And, sometimes you may have to actually start configuring DHCP snooping. So let's move on. We kind of already talked about VPN and remote access. That's layer 3 security. As we know, VPN is a virtual private network. So it basically just creates a tunnel. So let's say this is a router and this is a switch, and this is a computer. This is your work computer at the headquarters. Okay, this is headquarters. Okay, and then you say that, and then this is the internet. This is my cloud. And then you work at home, okay? This is you, remote worker. But the only way to access the DHCP server or anything is you have to get on VPN, right? So VPN will actually, you have to get to our network. So VPN will create this tunnel that will encapsulate your ones and zeros. So as you putting in sensitive data, accessing our network, so you can, do things as an engineer do, or just monitor stuff, and you're getting data back and forth. It has this tunnel that encapsulates your data so no one can see it because it's virtual and it's private, right? It's remote access. When the pandemic happened, a lot of people, work from home became something big. So network engineers like myself, we had to really do a lot of troubleshooting with remote access. We had to configure remote access and ensure that everyone can do their job from home, just like they can do their job in the office. And not only ourselves, but also the users, right? The call center reps or like my first contract was at a hospital. So they had to be able to, I mean, they were still kind of call center reps because they were taking calls and stuff. But I still had to ensure that those calls still routed to them and they can still take them as though they're in the office. And it just was a lot. It was a lot of learning and a lot learning on the senior team, you know, because they're not used to so much remote access. Usually that stuff gets, you know, granted and we're already troubleshooting to ensure you can, you know, access your stuff at home before you even go home or before you even start working from home. This was kind of just like, hey, we can't be around each other anymore. Let's just start working remotely, working virtually. So I was able, you know, to actually be firsthand and, you know, going through all this remote access, these protocols to, you know, make sure we can work and make sure they can work. So I was really, you know, it was a really good, you know, experience for myself because they were new people, you know, senior engineers who say, I've been working this position for 20 plus years. They didn't know what the heck they were doing. So, and that gives me confidence because it's like, dang, you've been doing this for 20 years and I'm out here outperforming you. And I've been doing this for 3 months. So yeah, remote access VPN, we kind of already know what that kind of entails. That we know we didn't have to go too deep into that. Let me see. Oh, I see a question here. So the DHCP snooping commands the router to only give access to a specific IP address only? Yes, which is the DHCP address. So when you let me go this here. When you configure DHCP snooping, it says only give access to this DHCP server to send out IP addresses. No other server can act as a DHCP server. Okay, that's basically what DHCP is snooping. There's other things you can do with it as far as if someone wants to be a user and say, hey, give me an IP address. And we can say, no, only give IP addresses to these ports, to these interfaces, to these, whatever we want to specify. We can really go real granular if we want to. But just just like a couple commands on the router, it's just saying, don't pay attention to no other DHCP server. That's all it's saying. Like, this is the only one we have. So anybody else come in is fraudulent. And if it's not fraudulent, then we have to go to the security department and say, hey, we're not fraudulent. Can you change some things around? So that's really all that is. What else we not talking? Oh, ACLs. So ACLs means access control list. Okay, it's a list that we give access to. So it's literally we'll have an ACL and we'll literally say that we could just go like this. We could say 10.1.1, 10.1.1.2, and 10.1.1.3 permit. Permit through interface gigabit let's say 0/0. All right, I'm just making up stuff at this point, but that's kind of what it'll look like, right? And you'll have, we can access, we'll grant access to these IP addresses and permit them to send data through this interface. And we're gonna put these commands onto our router. Okay, now let's say that we wanna permit everybody. Instead of saying permit every single IP, we can say who we want to deny. Okay, we could say deny these 3 addresses. I don't know, I don't want these addresses to come in. And vice versa, we can say permit. It depends on, you know, which is greater, which is less. Anybody who's not on this list cannot do the other action, cannot do the action. So if I say we can permit these addresses, if 10.1.1.4 comes in, it's going to deny it and block any packets to enter through this interface, to enter through this port. That's what an ACL is. And we're going to put these on our routers. So we're specifically saying who can come in and who can't come in. And we usually do that to the router. It's called our edge router. And it's our router that's actually facing the internet. It's our router that's not, in the middle of our network, but more so in the internet, because we kind of, we're in the network. So, I mean, if you're in the network, you can switch some data around. But the outside world is too many variables. So we want to make sure that on this outside router that we have these ACLs to say, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but we're going to permit these, and we're only going to allow certain IP addresses to come in and out of our network. For an easy example is Facebook. A lot of jobs do not want you surfing social media. So they will block Facebook's IP address, so you cannot access Facebook. And obviously Facebook is not something, their server is not going to be in your company's network. You got to go to the internet. So they're going to put this on the router and say, no Facebook, which whatever the address may be. There may be a job where you can't even Google stuff. Like you can only use like maybe Bing or something. Like they're very specific. Or you can't even use a search engine. It has to be a specific one or their search engine. So they may, I think Google's is like 8.8.8. So they'll probably block, that IP. So you cannot, use it while you're on the network. You would have to get off the network and go to your mobile hotspots or be on your phone or whatever the case may be. But we're blocking traffic based off of, we're blocking or permitting traffic based off of IP addresses. And what is an IP address? Layer 3 security. Okay, so that's ACLs. And AAA. AAA, let's clear this out. So AAA stands for, hopefully I get this in the right order, authorize, which is not probably that order. I think authorize is second. Authorize, authenticate. Oh, let me get this here. We got authorize, authenticate, and account. So basically, it's a server that just hides in the back, right? It connects to our network. So our network is always going to be in a simple form, a router, a switch, and you, me, and everybody else, okay? So, and then we have our routers going to connect to the internet. Now, obviously, if we're in Walmart or some big company, we have, thousands of routers and switches. But just for simplicity, we have, router, switch, and our users. So our AAA server is going to connect to our network, and it's literally going to authorize, authenticate, and take account of every single person or every single device that makes any changes or does anything on our network. So if someone came in and, said that someone came in and sent a nude from some random profile or something, we would be able to, because of our AAA server, we would be able to see exactly who it was that sent that nude. Regardless of you masking who you are, we can still see. If you come into the network and let's say you're about to put in your 2-week notice, or you're about to come in and start messing up some things because you upset at management, AAA server is going to see exactly everything that you did. Is going to trace right back to you, and boom, most of the time I've used AAA server only if, like, almost in those cases where it's kind of like someone's probably about to get fired because the manager said they did something and then they said they didn't do something, and they'll probably, submit a ticket to my department and say, can you see if this person really logged in at 8:30 for the past week, or if this person really was doing this, or how many calls did this person take, or just whatever. It can be very granular because, some people micromanage the hell out of their people. So I'll just be like, you want me to see if they clocked in at 8:30 on Tuesday? But that's their determination if they're going to fire them or not, because whatever, it's not my business. I'm just here to give you the information. Or like myself, I messed up the network and made it go all the way down. And if I didn't take responsibility, then they'd have been like, well, who did this? And all they had to do was go to the AAA server and see like, oh, okay, well, you went into this server and you didn't do this, and that's why it went down. So it's for us to authorize people. Can you come to this account? Can you come into this network? Yes, you can. We're authenticating them, and then we're accounting them. Authenticating as far as just like, well, authenticating is letting them, are you, allowed to be on this network? Authorizing is more like, what permissions do you have? Are you a manager? Are you an engineer? Are you just a user? So we can see if you are, authorized to do what you are doing on the network. And then accounting, we're just going to, the server's just going to account for every single move that you do. So there's no secret when you are, on our network, we're going to see everything. And yeah, most of the time too, the police will probably do like an investigation on somebody. I don't know. We're just connected somehow. And they'll ask our department to say, hey, can you give us some logs of, who logged in on, between May and April and May. And, we'll give up those reports. I've been in that situation a couple of times where we had to give reports to, the police or FBI because, somebody was doing some stuff and they want to, fact check them or whatever the case may be. So AAA is very important, and it helps with our layer 3 security. Any questions on that? No? That's really our security piece. Again, it's the basics of it. Basic, you are able to secure yourself, and you're able to secure the network. Now, as far as keeping it secure and making sure that nothing is vulnerable and all this good stuff, that's really goes down to security department. If this interests you, definitely start off in section 5 of the original computer science course. So you can at least get a little more ingrained in what we just talked about. So you can configure some of these things. We have a lab where you can download Packet Tracer and configure ACLs and AAA and DHCP snooping. So you can kind of get a feel of, the commands you'll be putting in, and port security. So if that interests you, definitely do section 5 and then, go down the cybersecurity route. If for not my non-exam folks, also too, you can do Packet Sniffer. You can download a Packet Sniffer. I was gonna download Cain and Abel for you guys, but let me pull up here. But I have my Cain and software. I have my VPN on, and I don't want to take off my antivirus, because that's what you have to do to download this software, is take off your antivirus. And I'm just not going to do that right now, especially while I've already had to download it, and it's gonna take forever. But regardless, this program is definitely a tool that you can use, well, people use in security, as well as Wireshark. And I want you guys to play around with these two softwares because they're industry standard softwares. Like, I've used this in my job a bunch of times, especially Wireshark, because it's good for troubleshooting. And then Cain and Abel is good for, it's really, I got this from the security department because I have, a couple of friends in the security department, and they're like, hey, you could just, crack some password, crack some codes. And I'm like, oh, how do you do that? And from I would say 3 different people who do not know each other, they brought up Cain and Abel. So I figured, hey, for all my security folks, Cain and Abel may be something that, you can start with as well, as far as downloading and playing with it, because it's easy. And again, it's just a password cracker. Wireshark is a packet sniffer. So you can see it's a network traffic analyzer. Just, you can say a packet sniffer. All it's going to do is analyze the network traffic. And what is network traffic? Packets. So what we're going to do, some of you guys said you haven't seen The Watcher yet, but as a little spoiler, I don't know if they were using Wireshark, but they probably was. They was able to, sniff some packets and take a look at, what's going on somebody when they was in a chat room and they wanted to see what they were chatting about. So they downloaded the software and they were able to hack into their IP address by using some type of brute force technology. And yeah, they were able to just see their screen and see what they're texting, see what they were chatting, and see their whole conversation. And it just made a whole nother storyline, and it was just so crazy. And that stuff interests me because it's like, dang, I use that at work, and they're talking about it on the movie like it's so hacker, and we do not use it like that. We use it because someone says they can't get on the internet, so we're using it like, what's going on? We're not using it to hack, so that's insane. So yeah, definitely these two, go into it, play around with it. Once you download and play around with it, put it on your resume. Boom. Now, next thing is for my blockchain folks, right? I think this is a good section for you to start learning about, if you don't already, the algorithm SHA-256. Not sure if you guys know this, but at least you can, go deep into it, which is, this algorithm, which we use in blockchain and we use in networking. Just to go a little story here, you guys know I keep talking about it. I made the network go down on my first contract on like week 2. Worst thing ever, but great experience. And the reason why it's great experience and I'll never forget it is because I learned about SHA-256. I didn't know what that was. I knew what it was, but I didn't know like the depths of it. And then of course I get into blockchain a year later or, a few months later. And SHA-256 is what they use. So it's like, oh, I've been preparing my life for this. So SHA-256 is secure hash algorithm, 256 bytes, if I'm not bytes. Yes, because it's 256 bits, right? 256 ones and zeros. And I think that leads up to 32 bytes, some shit like that. But secure hash algorithm, SHA-256. Basically, it is the most recent algorithm out here to secure data. And what it does is it takes regular numbers, like we could say Wireshark, and if we was to put it in this algorithm, it'll make it into 256 bits long. It will encrypt it 256 bits long. So anybody that's regular, trying to sniff the packets, they can't see that I just said Wireshark to you or a code to you because the algorithm jumbled it up, right? In some type of, and I believe SHA is the only algorithm, since it's the most current, it's the only algorithm. They have this patent that's the cryptography patent, and that's why we use it in blockchain, because it's all about, securing it to where no one can hack it. It's very hard to reverse a SHA algorithm. So give you an example, SHA-256 hash generator. That's what we want. So you can kind of see, I know there's a better one out there. So I can say, girl, that's crazy, right? And then the hash, I'm gonna send this, and the algorithm makes it looks like this. So you don't know that this says girl, that's crazy. But when it gets to my side or to my, destination side, it's going to, decrypt into girl, that's crazy. Now, the other thing with SHA-256 is good at is I can literally make one change. That's crazy. I'm gonna put an exclamation mark. And it changes the whole hash. And that's what's so good about it. It's not like just one change, it changes the whole ordeal. So it's almost impossible to hack this algorithm. Like it's 0.000000001% that you're gonna hack this, right? And again, this is not only in networking, but also in blockchain. And in blockchain, I believe they call it immutable or something in that sort. to where it's almost impossible to hack, but it's not impossible, right? Like you still can hack, but the chances are so low, you know, it kind of wouldn't be worth it with all the time you put in. Like you would really have to like, you know, be at it for some time. And you'll probably always be like a step behind because it's always going to change. Like the SHA-256 is always changing. So yeah, you found one out and you're a step closer, but it just went a step ahead, you know? So that's why I say it's immutable. It's, you know, almost impossible. So from a blockchain, folks, get more deep into SHA-256 because, you know, it's good knowledge to have, especially if you're on the cybersecurity side. And I just think SHA-256 is very, very interesting. Like I said, I had to learn about it because on the network side, what we use for certificates, I had to renew a certificate to be able to keep using this server. And I didn't renew it right. And so that SHA-256 algorithm was like, oh, well, this information is wrong. And everything just shut down, like everything just turned off. And yeah, it was my fault. Imagine being blamed for hundreds of thousands of people losing access. I wanted to throw up. Like I wanted to just like, fucking take me now. But again, I prevailed. I studied as far as like what's going on. I did the best troubleshooting. You know, my thing, I'm always gonna go to turn it off and turn it back on. So that's what we did. We powered the server off, powered it back on, and it came back on, everything was good. And I had to get Cisco involved, the vendor. I had to call them because, you know, it's their servers. And I had to basically have some type of meeting with them, let them know like, hey, my server went down. Can you just see what happened? And they told me that I didn't do my certificates right. And only thing I didn't do was power cycle the server, because once I upload the certificates, you have to power off and power on so it can take into effect, which I didn't do. I just uploaded the certificates. And let me see. Let me see. Here we go. So this is what I had to do. I had to renew our call manager. These are like call manager servers, is the name of them. I had to renew the certificates. I had to renew the Tomcat certificate, call manager certificate, IPsec certificate, and ITL recover certificate. They sound like a lot, but it's really not. It's really just, if I come in here and it tells you like, again, I didn't know this was literally my first time ever doing this. So what I did was I came to something like this, which is a Cisco, it's like a Cisco help desk, but they give you white papers, which for my blockchain people, you should start reading white papers. So you can know what that entails. But it's like a white paper and it tells you exactly how to do this step. You know, it tells you log in into the Cisco Unified OS admin page of Publisher. That is a server. So you log into the main server and you click on these things: security, certificate management, find, click on Tomcat Perm, which is a certificate setting. It looks just like this. And as you can see, it has the SHA algorithm right here. Yes, this stuff is blocked out because this is who issued the certificate to me. There's a couple places you can get your certificate issued. It's all about the security team, whatever. So it's arbitrary. But it looks just like this. What I had to do was generate a CSR, which is a new certificate, and then download the file. The file literally gets downloaded to my computer, and all I do is come back and I upload the file. I add the file. And I say generate, and I upload the file right here, and I say what the file is. It's a Tomcat file. I told you I have to do different certificates. And then browse, obviously you make sure that it's up. And then, I mean, if you even look here, it tells me to restart Tomcat. So that's what I did. I restarted the Tomcat service, but nowhere in here says you should restart the server. So I didn't restart the server. But when I contact Cisco, they was like, yeah, you should have restarted the server. Where in your documentation does it say that? So that's kind of how it really wasn't my fault for real, but they felt like we paying you a lot of money and you should already know this. So that was a rookie mistake and we had to let you go. And they didn't say that, they just didn't renew my contract. But, you know, I knew that it was because a rookie mistake and they felt like I brought you on as the, you know, subject matter expert. But, you know, in my defense, I'm like, you don't see, I don't see it says restart server. I see service restart Cisco Tomcat. Whatever, I ain't here to prove my point. But regardless, y'all, I had to do these things. And I literally follow each step just like this. It says reboot all phones. You see, they're not talking about restarting the server, like even in this documentation. Yep. So, you know, that's literally, you know, again, I probably had, you know, people who took my CCNA course last semester, then yes, I had the same information you had right now with doing this, you know. It took me a week to read this because I'm like, what the heck is this? I had to literally go and like Google almost like every other word because I just didn't understand. Like, you know, but I did it. And I did it right. I just didn't do the last part right. And like I said, I'll always remember, you know, certificates and this process because it was traumatizing. So hopefully you guys can learn from my mistakes. And, you know, if you become a network engineer, a network admin, and they're like, oh, it's time to renew certificates, because it happens every so often, you can be like, hey, you know, I know a little bit about it. And, you know, boom. So definitely get into that, get into white papers and get into the SHA-256 hash for my blockchain folks. Okay. That's really it, y'all. I really didn't have much. Excuse me. We kind of talked about some of this yesterday. So, you know, we really just was repeating more stuff and just kind of winning a little bit more. If this really interests you, definitely go into this section. If not, just use today to review any things that you had left over. If you don't have anything left over, you know, download a packet sniffer. I say pack. I should have put packet sniffer software. You know, play around with some security like you're a hacker. If you just strictly want to do blockchain knowledge, SHA-256 is what you should really get spun up on. And what did we say? And white papers. You know, if you already know SHA-256, are you reading white papers? Which you should. White papers are crucial to crypto projects. So you don't, especially if you're investing in crypto projects, the first thing you want to do is read their white paper. Like, who are they? What's their mission? The big thing with blockchain is if you don't have a utility, you will not survive. So do not invest in projects that do not have a utility, AKA meme coins. Like, don't invest in stuff that's just because it's popular. Read their white paper and see what their utility is. What are they helping? What are they bringing to the space? You know, that's why I liked Unicoin. I mean, not Unicoin, Uniswap. Their white paper was all about, you know, a decentralized exchange. So we can exchange our coins on a decentralized matter instead of Coinbase, because that's not decentralized. And low cost. The fees are low. So I like them. So yeah, that's it. Let me see, questions.
I have a statement. Well, yeah, a statement and two questions. Okay, so first question. Where would you recommend we go to read white papers for the crypto?
Yes, so let's see. Let's go to Uniswap. The white papers are usually right on their homepage. You can go to ecosystem. Let me see. Here we go. Yeah, right on their homepage. Here's their white paper, Uniswap. Like I said, it is a decentralized like exchange, you can say. And their white paper is right here on their first page. If you click, it tells you, excuse me, who is involved in this project, who's the core people. and then it tells you, you know, what their mission is about, what they're here to do. In the crypto, they give you, it's very detailed, you know. Um, I would say start learning how to read these so you can know what's going on, and you can just be more involved into if you want to invest, if this project is a long-term project, or is this project just they're just trying to, you know, do some pump and dump type behavior.
Gotcha.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes people do copy and paste white papers, so be careful with that too. But as you start reading more white papers, as you start getting more immersed in the language that they're saying, you can kind of see like, nah, you know, this is some universal language. Y'all ain't probably doing nothing. So it gets a little deep. Like, look at all this. I don't know what all this is. Like, yeah, but it's good to start now. So, I mean, you've been reading white papers for the next, you know, 1 to 2 years. You kind of probably do know what this means to a degree.
That looked like the math they use to actually do the mining for it or something, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I told you, math is not my strongest subject. Okay.
Right, right.
So,
Okay, so second statement. Okay, when you showed us those Cisco white papers, it's like a light bulb went off in my head yet again, and now I'm feeling robbed yet again because when I worked for Apple, okay, like you know how you can go to apple.com and like any issue you have, they have like articles that'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to resolve whatever issue, right? You can search like your problem and all of that good stuff, and it'll just come up.
yes.
Well, as far as the Apple advisors, they also have those same articles, but they have the extra additional back end steps in red. And then depending on if you're a tier one, a tier two, or however high up the chain they need to send you, it adds more and more detailed technical stuff for how to resolve the issue, right? So
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm looking like I'm pretty sure like that's what they used to drill in us. That's what they had trainers also drill into the advisors. Like the information is so comprehensive, it's so much. There's no way you can possibly memorize it all. You just
Right.
need to learn how to find the information and just follow the steps. That's all, that's it. They don't want you to know how to figure it all out because every issue is different and every issue is nuanced, and it may be an issue that looks familiar and it could be something totally different. So you have to go back and refer to that information on how to resolve the issues to actually be sure that that's the issue you resolve it and all that good stuff. But it's just
Mm-hmm.
like it's just like completely unfamiliar for me, but totally familiar at the same time, and I feel so robbed. But okay,
Yeah, don't feel robbed, because basically what you did was you just did some training for yourself. They trained you on how to be able to take jobs like this because it's exactly what you're going to do. What you did is exactly what you're going to do. It's just you're going to get paid more because you know a little bit more about technology. So if you didn't have that type of training, you probably would struggle a little more in this field, just jumping into it new, because it's like, dang, I got to start reading articles and I got to start going step by step guides. Because a lot of times you don't do that. Sometimes, you know, you're in a job to where it's just like, you know, mindless work. But imagine a job to where you've already been reading instructions. So now you just come into a six-figure job where you're still reading instructions. Like, it's
look,
like,
look, basically it was like everything you've been saying thus far. It's like be personable, know how to
Mhm.
interact with people, understand the information that someone is giving you about their problem without them using technical jargon
Mhm.
so that you know the right questions to ask when you go to Google or you go to Apple first. Like uh their what do I want to call it? Not insider, but intra office. No, I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
the
you can say
actual
intra-office.
technical,
Yeah.
yeah, the intra office information that we have, like I use that in tandem with Google 100% of the time when I was still an advisor. And that's why they pulled me off the phone so quick because they were like, oh, your handle times are great. Your customer resolution is almost 100. Like I became uncoachable, literally. Like me and my
Yeah.
supervisor would get in the chat and start talking about Game of Thrones because she would be like, I listened to like 5 of your calls. I couldn't find anything. And like, yeah, because I turned it into a game. Like I was like, yeah, these are the metrics. I'm gonna make sure I hit every last single one of them because I don't like being micromanaged. and feeling like
Mhm.
somebody's always looking over my shoulder. So I was like, I'm gonna make it to where she can't tell me nothing but good job and let me go on about my business. So that's what I did. And it's like literally became uncoachable. I was busting their head for overtime. And they were like, please sign up to be please put in your resume to be a trainer. And I was like, no, I don't have the bachelor's that they want. Oh no, you'll be perfect for it. And then on
Mhm.
top of that, my supervisor coached me on how to pass the interviews because they wanted me off them phones so bad. Like honestly, I was making more on the phones and hitting their head with overtime and bonuses and stuff than I was making when I became salary as a trainer.
Mm.
But they wanted me off
Dang.
them lines real quick, like
Yeah,
I
so
was
that means
busting
you're
their
gonna
head real quick.
transition very well into these type of positions. Like
I was
this is
on the
gonna be
phone for 3 months with zero prior or tech experience. I was on the phone for 3 months, and they were like, "Yeah, please apply to be a trainer." It's
yep.
almost like you're gonna be a trainer. Like they really wanted me off the phones, but I'm just saying all that to say, like, I'm excited. I still feel a little bit robbed, but I'm excited.
Don't
Um,
feel robbed at all. Just feel like I've been preparing myself for this.
big facts, big facts. Okay, so final question, right? And it has a little anecdote first. So back when I worked for AT&T in downtown Houston, right? I
Mhm.
was working for AT&T. I was on the Southwest um, campaign or whatever. And then I had a friend, he was on the Xfinity campaign, right? And like with Xfinity, things are ever changing or whatever. So they would frequently have like business hour training sessions where they would all have to get off the phone and learn new stuff about whatever's changed, right? So my friend, he was in this week-long training class and he got tired of people asking like the most idiotic questions like who hired you? You know how people say who raised you? He would be like, who
Yeah.
hired you? Like, why are you here? Why are y'all asking? Like he used to be so frustrated because he's kind of like me, like, just let me do my job. Like I get it, I understand. Can I go now? But it
Right.
was mandatory. So he would be in the chat frustrated, looking at these people, ask these stupid questions or whatever. And they did the training in the office. So one day, I don't know what he did. He won't tell me what he did. He somehow was able to get out of all of his logins, right, that
Mhm.
identified him, log back in anonymously and say, all y'all dumb as hell to the chat,
Of
and
course.
then log back in or whatever. They never found out who did it. Like they shut down the whole training session. They went through everybody's computer trying to figure out who sent it, how they sent it, all that. They never found out he did it. Like he called me like when we got off work laughing. And I was just like, how did you do that? And he was like, don't worry about it. He's like, I can't tell you or whatever, just in case. So I want to know how would it be someone in your role who would be able to find out who did that? And how
Yep.
would you go about doing that?
Yep. Someone in my department, we'll work together, but we may just hand it over to security since that is a security breach. But we
Uh-huh.
will work together. We all can know. And how will we know is the first thing we're gonna go to is our AAA server. We're gonna see who came in, what interface you came in at, what device that you used, what IP was you on, who, you know what I'm saying? Like, how did you come into our stuff? And then once we're able to see who you were, look at our AA server, we'll probably look at your packet even more, which is some type of Wireshark, which we talked about. And
Mhm.
let me see, Wireshark. And we'll read the packet. And most likely it's gonna be the same thing, what they were saying, like, oh, y'all dumb and stuff. But we'll just again follow his IP address, follow his MAC address to ensure that he didn't do anything that would, exploit us. Like, did he take any information? Did he go look at some type of Excel document? We'll make sure that all he did was send everybody a text message saying, go F yourself. So,
Yeah. Yeah, like it was hilarious. No, he didn't do anything too malicious. He's mischievous as all get out. So he just really felt that he needed to get that off his chest.
so the
And
security department will get in trouble that's who the team will get in trouble, because the team, the headquarters, the corporate will say, how was he able to just do this? Regardless of how smart he is or whatever, no one should be able to get into our network without our permission. So security team gonna get cussed out. So all y'all security folks, cybersecurity folks, y'all gonna get y'all A handed to y'all. That's that.
If they were smart, they would give the man a promotion in a new position to make sure stuff like that don't happen no more. That's what I would say. But hey,
yeah, I don't know, because then it's like, okay, so he may flip on us. He may
right.
flip
But yeah, like this section, like everything you taught thus far, like I always like that's how I learn really easily. I tried to make a reference to something I'm already familiar with. So this whole section you just went over, like that's the only thing I could think of where I've ever experienced or witnessed or know of some sort of security breach like that. So that's why I asked. But yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. I try to make it relatable. I worked at 2 call centers. AT&T was my first one. And it was just regular, like, customer service. And then Apple, I did work at an Apple call center. And I met a lot of people with that because I was able to, just go from regular like iPhone help troubleshooting over the phone to I was actually training the iTunes department. And I learned a lot, but it was nothing like this, right? The most that I did was, help someone plug their phone to their computer so they can update their iPhone software because they didn't have, Wi-Fi or something. Like it was very simple. So when I got into this, it was like, dang, this is deep.
Look, when I was promoted to a trainer, right? During the in-between training classes time, we were all considered tier 2 advisors and we had to help mainly with Mac calls. So I learned how to like partition an iPhone, I mean, not iPhone, partition a Mac so that it could run Windows. Like I know how to do all that type of little technical stuff, help set up a small network in somebody's home, like tell them what wire goes to what, how to set up multiple screens. Like I know how to do all of that. And I haven't been utilizing any of it. And
what? That's a 6-figure job right there. Like at a minimum, it's gonna be like 87,000.
Right. I need to know how to speak the language so that I can convey, yeah, I'm familiar with this stuff and I know how to do it. And that's the part I don't have besides saying, oh yeah, I can hook up a Mac, like I need the language. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, well, that's good. So now you're getting some of the acronyms. So when we get past week 2, because next week we'll be doing a lot of coding, a lot of dealing with languages. So after that, we'll be just really interviewing, doing some interview prep. So we'll definitely be mock interviewing, and we'll do some tactics that I learned at Ashton on how to pass interviews. So
Nice.
yes, I'm going to make sure you guys get all the gems, all the sauce, everything I know, and everything that I've used to get my own interview. Because like I said, when I take my interviews, I do have to be on camera, and I do what I can, but I have 2 screens, just to put that out there. I definitely have 2 screens because like I said, I get flustered. I may know a lot of stuff, but when it's time for me to get put on the spot, I'm really not good with like public speaking, like out like that, especially when someone's trying to, grill me on something. I can, my mind will probably wander or whatever. So to keep me on track, to keep me, having a good first impression, I have to have notes. And in the interview, they're gonna be like, "What the hell you got notes for?" And it's none of your business for me to get this job. So I make sure I'm good. So I'm gonna definitely make sure that you guys have that sauce to make sure that you're good as well. Because again, it's just the way you talk to these folks.
Listen, I will answer 1 to 2 technical questions and then everything else is I'm joking and they laughing and they don't forget. And then they looked at the time and then the time done went over and really
and that's great.
much, but
That's what you're supposed to do. So that's good. That's good. I'm right here trying to find some coins that you guys can take a look at and research. Uniswap should have been the first one you guys took a look at. Propy, I learned about Propy. I don't know where. I just came across it. I forgot how, but it's always been interesting because they're kind of like the first people to the first crypto project to excuse me, to deal with real estate. Right. So to sell real estate, you get your title and everything all through, blockchain. So they're really good. And I think they're like $1 or something. I forgot, but definitely make sure that's in your wallet. I've been holding on to them. They've been doing pretty well for me. So I think they're like, yeah, $1. I don't even know if they're that much. Let's see. Jasmine, I think that's how it is. I got this from doing a game on Coinbase. I don't know if you guys do those learn and earn games. You
Yep.
learn. Yeah, I'll do those. So I
Yeah, that's
learned.
free money.
Yeah, exactly. I do that any chance I can get. So, I
Look,
learned it from
I'll take
here.
mine and flip it into XLM on Coinbase. Well, when it was XRP was on Coinbase, I'd always take it and convert it to XRP immediately.
Yep. I used to do that as well. And then I started like taking them serious because I didn't just go through it like, yeah. But then I started actually like learning and I'm like, oh, this is nice. So, that's probably where I got Propy from. And then, Jasmine, another one, I'm like, oh, okay. So, I go to their websites, look at their white paper and stuff. But as you can see, they let me go up here. Is it
But
up
I
here?
just have one question, and then I have to. There's a few other things I got to do. The Discord, the private Discord. You gave us some instructions, and I'm trying to figure out where do you want us to. You said something about changing our name, so we you could add us to the private Discord, and I'm just need to know where to do that at.
So private Discord, I mean, you should be in it, right? Warrior GT, is that you?
Yep.
Yeah, you in the private Discord, CS Bootcamp. So you're
Okay.
good.
I just want to make sure I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Your name, you changed it on the site. I think it was like GT, so it's kind of still the same. I can still, correlate that. So that was okay. And I think I updated that anyway. But yeah, as long as like your name kind of matches what you signed up with on your site, so I can know like, okay, this, people who are in this group are paid members. That's really the only way I can, do it. But no, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
And then there's another one I want you guys to look at before we go is the graph. We're going to be talking about APIs tomorrow. So I at least want you guys to get a little, information on APIs on a decentralized way. API is application protocol interface. It's basically a way for two softwares that don't speak the same language to speak the same language. That's all an API is, for two softwares to, talk to each other. We usually use APIs to grab information from one place and send it to another. So for instance, let's say we are using Yelp or we're using TripAdvisor and we're trying to book a hotel. How do they get those hotel rooms from Marriott? They use an API to Marriott's website to give us, hotels or rooms that are available. That's on tripadvisor.com, right? Or Kayak or whatever you use that uses other people's information. So that's like a use case of APIs. We'll go a little deep into it tomorrow because we will be talking about automation. We know everything already about how a how a packet travels through a network. We already know. We know from the router and the switch, and it literally just repeats itself through every network. We know how to secure. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Tomorrow, what time are we supposed to meet up?
Tomorrow should be the same time. Let me just double check here in in computers and boot camp. Yes. So weekend, Saturday, Sunday is gonna be the same time, 12 p.m. And
Okay.
if you can't make it, it is okay. I record these, so I'll upload it within the next couple of hours after we end.
All right. Well, I'm gonna
Okay.
try, but I just know that our church has a big event this weekend, and I know I'm gonna be uh tied up with that. So I'm gonna do my best to make the class. If not, I catch the recording.
Right. Okay. Yeah, well, no worries with that. Like I said, it will be definitely recorded. So I'll make sure that it's up for you guys for later viewing. But yeah, I mean that's it for me today as well. Tomorrow we'll talk about automating the network. So that's what we'll start going in to learning coding for week 2, which is, a lot of people's gonna be excited about. So if anybody have any questions, we can just, break here and reconvene tomorrow. Yes, IP Vanish. Yes, I love it. Yes. All right, no questions. Okay, guys. I'm gonna stop sharing. Thank you for showing up on this Saturday. Tomorrow, we will definitely be back at it, and we're about to start getting into some coding. So,
All right,
bye, guys.
well, everybody enjoy your Saturday. Thank you so much for your time, Jessica.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
All
Bye.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you. Take care.
Good
Good
afternoon.
day.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.